close your eyes, running through the night, only takes them back, always out of sight, crowding through the night. Run, you can run, but you'll never hide. The walls are coming, you're running. The walls are coming, you're running. The walls are coming, you're running. The walls are coming.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sunday night. And as it's Sunday night, it's the last word on the weekend's action. We're going to be looking back at that Derby Day delight, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Aston Villa 0, pulling out of the relegation zone. But there's so much to talk about tonight, of course. On top of that, it's a great result. We're going to be chewing the fat on that. We're going to be looking ahead to the FA Cup weekend. But we're also going to be talking about the January transfer window. We're literally, as we go live, literally only 26 hours from the January, well, we're in February window closing. Cunha signing his contract, Danso going to Tottenham. Are Wolves going to be bringing anything else in? What do you think of the window so far? We will, as I say, look ahead to next week's FA Cup, not only for the men against Blackburn, but of course the ladies playing Manchester United at Telford. But we also have another thing that we're going to be talking about tonight, and that is officially the Wolverhampton Wanderers are looking and consulting on the 150th anniversary kit for the 2026-27 season. And they've started a consultation process. So you guys that will be watching this, whether you're watching it live on catch up or what, there's going to be a form that we've done for you to fill in because there is a meeting. That process starts next Tuesday at Molineux. We will be in attendance in that. So we will be feeding back some of your ideas and thoughts. We've got a fantastic show for you tonight. We've already got nearly 400 of you on the on live. But I'm delighted to introduce, first of all, Sky's Johnny Phillips and Wolves fan. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very good, Dave. How are you? Nice to be speaking with you.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much for joining us tonight. I think you were covering the Villa game yesterday, weren't you, mate?
Yeah, I was doing it for Sky, so it was great. It was great to be at. I've done the last couple. Actually, I was at Arsenal as well, and then I was at Chelsea as a fan. But yeah, working there yesterday was brilliant because it was a really great atmosphere, a great win, and a really good performance.
It was, mate. And of course, we're going to be getting all your thoughts as a fan, rather than as a journo, on everything that's happening Wolves tonight. But first of all, before we start, Johnny, I wanted to ask you, because I noticed yesterday on the socials that because obviously you're an ambassador for Wolves Foundation, and you're putting on a fundraiser, and it's happening at the Halls, I think. And it's all about Bully's 60th birthday. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's in collaboration with the foundation. Basically, I've been working on a night with Bully for quite some time, and with his 60th birthday on the horizon, I thought it'd be a great excuse, given his association with the club has gone on way beyond his playing days, to just grab a few of his old teammates together from the 2 decades, or the 2 various decades his time here spanned in the 80s and the 90s as a player. And just have a chat, bring some of his old teammates up on stage, have some old footage. We've got some great archive of him, and then have a chat about what Wolves has meant to him ever since then. So I sort of presented the night to the foundation and had said, I'd like to do it as a fundraiser, being an ambassador. Is it something we can get on? And obviously the halls have been done up at the Wolfrun Hall's been done up, and it's a great venue to get this sort of thing on. It's got a bar, fans will be able to get in there.
Venue.
Yeah, I think it lends itself to a bit of a sort of party night style atmosphere. It's a sort of evening with night, bit of Q&A, fan interaction, and just lends itself to that sort of celebration. It'll be a really, really light-hearted, good fun with Bully, looking back at some great old clips and some great stories of his years at the club. And the proceeds of the ticket sales will go towards the foundation and the work they do, which is fantastic. And I think it's a brilliant opportunity to sort of combine a night like this with something that can actually do a bit of good as well.
Absolutely, and the foundation is something very, very close to my heart. With obviously the Content Creators Cup, they need the funding. It's absolutely fantastic. One quick question before we move on, and we will come back to talk a little bit more about this later on the show. Merv wants to know: will Lineker be there?
That's a great shout. We have done a night with Bully when we got Gazza and Paul Parker and Peter Shilton and a couple of others along. But Lineker hasn't been there, although Bully definitely didn't chin Lineker back in the day. That's all. That's an urban myth. But great question from Merv.
Well, make sure you save all your questions, because there will be a question corner at the end where you can ask Johnny anything as well. Wolves, football, Sky, being a journo, experiences, and obviously on the show as well. Also joining us tonight, our senior writer at Always Wolves. It is George with his, in brackets, if you're listening to that podcast, in Vitor We Trust. Hello, George.
All right, Dave. Evening all. Yeah, still trusting him, mate. I know we had that sticky patch, but I think he came up trumps again, didn't he, on yesterday? So I think we needed that one as well, didn't we? I think I'd said to you, I thought that was I feel like that was make or break. I think if we didn't get the win there, there's always a chance in a derby, isn't there? It's a one-off game. Anything can happen. And I'm just glad I'm just more than anything, I'm glad we looked up for the fight, to be honest, because if the players had down tools, that was it. It was over, wasn't it? But they looked up for the fight, and I'm actually feeling confident, you know.
Mate, you actually look quite pecker.
Quite what?
Pecker, bubbly.
Yeah, well, it's the win, isn't it, mate? And to be honest, the other results went our way as well. Obviously, with Leicester and Southampton leading, it was a good weekend all round. It's just a shame that we got trumped by Spurs on Danso, but a couple of others we might be in for now. So, you know, I feel like, Dave, if we don't get anyone, I think they're rolling the dice, aren't they? But I still feel like we might have enough. But if we get a couple, it's kind of I feel like now guaranteeing. If we get a couple of reinforcements, then you're guaranteeing the safety, which obviously I'd rather us be risk averse and go and get a couple of signings. But we'll come to the signings, I guess. But no,
well,
I think
we're gonna get stuck into all of that. But it's great that you've got your internet fixed, mate, because I know you've been having problems with that. So absolutely brilliant. Right, our last next panelist tonight needs no introduction at all. It is the Lord himself, Mr. Jason Guy, who's he's normally wearing a retro top, but tonight he's just got a nice little black number on, mate.
I know. I had to drag myself away from the missus. She got some knobs out, put Netflix on, so I didn't have time to get changed, Dave. But thank you for inviting me on. It's good to see, obviously, George, Johnny, and your good self, and I'm looking forward to tonight's show.
Fantastic, mate. And when's your next event, mate? Because it's coming. I think we're coming to one in March very soon, and then you've got a couple of other things, a bit of fundraising you're doing yourself. Yeah,
so this Thursday I've got Neil Ruddock at my local, so that's going to be fun. And then I've got March the 6th at the Mount Hotel. I've got Mike Stoll, so that's obviously the Wolves record appearance holder for a goalkeeper. And then I thought, right, if I'm going to pick legends, I'm going to pick the biggest of them all. And on September the 11th, we've got Roger Johnson at the Mount, but it's already selling really well, to be honest. So Roger's got some great stories.
That's one for sure, mate. That is.
Absolutely. We had Jamie O'Hara a few years back, and we've had Dean Saunders as well. And, you know, there's a lot of grime, but they're also very honest. And I've had a good chat to Roger. He's told me some great stories already, so that's going to be a great night.
Fantastic. Now, I do want to say, of course, before we get stuck in, as always, a big, massive thank you to Creation Wolf, who helped power tonight's show. They're a local company. They're already supporting a lot of local businesses. Will take your brand and your business digital solutions to the next level. You can find them on creationwolf.com. They're Wolves fans as well. The link is in the description for below, and I know they'll always be watching as well on that. So, look, let's kick off with you, Johnny. Obviously, as a fan, rather than in your thing. I mean, how are you feeling about Wolves generally? How are you feeling about the match yesterday? also when you're reporting on the match and you're there and you're trying to be a bit impartial, and Cunha scoring that 97th minute goal, to basically everyone go, relax. Because it's 1-0 is always a tense scoreline. We were 1-0 up against Villa on 65 minutes and in the away game, and thinking, we had them chances, we didn't take them. How are your emotions going through the game when you're covering it as well? And how are you feeling about Wolves' January transfer business?
Yeah, I mean, my emotions are usually fairly in check. I mean, I spent my childhood being sat in the wrong end at Wolves matches when I used to live up north, and being in the home end at places like Tranmere and Chester and Bolton and Wigan, and sitting on my hands whenever Wolves scored. So I'm sort of used to not really celebrating. And obviously, once you work in the industry, you become a bit more dispassionate. I always think you still get the highs of winning, but you don't really get the lows of losing, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, it was brilliant to see Cunha score yesterday. I mean, that was just a phenomenal way to finish the game. And I think, as George touched on earlier, there was an element of make or break about yesterday. There was never going to be a better time to play Villa, a relatively makeshift team in defence. They were dead on their feet from midweek, and we had to go and all-out attack and get them. And it was a really good first half. It was worrying the way in the second half that the changes that Unai Emery was able to make did affect the match significantly.
He did that at half time in the away game. He made 3 changes at half time, and
that was after Europe as well, and it was impressive that he was able to do that. And he, speaking to him after the match, he's obviously trying to find that balance between getting his best team on the pitch and getting his freshest team on the pitch. And there's a difference between the two. And after European games, it's hard. But Wolves did everything right in terms of that first half, and probably should have had more of a cushion. And in fairness to them, they defended really stoically in the second half and saw it out. And then had that, only Cunha scores that goal. No one else on the pitch could have scored that.
I think everyone was screaming, "Take it to the corner! Take it to the corner!" Mm-hmm. And he actually did take it to the corner of the net.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal, and he did send half the Villa defence the wrong way as well in the process. So it was brilliant. It was absolute piece of magic from him, and it was a great way to finish it off because I do feel we had to win that game. Really, I know there's months left of the season, but I think given the noise around the club at the moment, it was one we had to win, and also for Pereira, who showed a lot of himself in that game, and he stuck his neck on the line a bit with his team selection and the strategy, and it paid off in spades.
Absolutely. Now, George, were you quite so calm when Cunha's goal went in at the end? You're on mute, mate.
I was same as you, mate. Take it to the corner, take the 1-0. At that point, the work was done, but he's always had that in his locker, hasn't he? So I've watched that back, and it was one of those finishes, where it goes in between the defender's legs. If you watch it back,
if it goes through the legs, it goes in the goal.
So intricate, it's unbelievable. I always wonder if when that happens, do they ever mean that? Can you be that good to find that tiny gap? But
I like the way he just when he went in, he just literally turned around, almost like Cantona style. Remember when he scored that goal back in the day? He was and then he went running over, kissing the badge and doing all this with the I'm signing the contract and stuff like that as well. It was a great moment for Cunha because he has come under a lot of pressure. He is our talisman. There's been so much talk about Matheus Cunha. There's all the stuff that happened, around the Chelsea game. To be fair, he was just coming back from flu, so his energy levels would be low as well. And, and then people saying he's not bothered, he don't care. And I'm just glad for him that he had that moment to show on the field his commitment to Wolves, and then that's followed up with the contract. Obviously, it's till 2029. We all know that it's all going to start again in the summer, and he might move in the summer. But it's put an end to this saga that's been running throughout January, hasn't it?
Yeah, that would be my only concern next week. You said about the commitment to Wolves. From a few bits that you've heard in his interview and stuff, I think there's a definite commitment to Wolves now for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
But I think there'd just be a bit of concern for me that apparently there's a 62.5 million release clause. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but
No.
that seems to me that that's a definite going in the summer. So there's a little tinge of, I don't know, like maybe a little bit of a downside to the new contract, but it depends if that's true, because I'd heard that we don't do that Wolves don't do release clauses. So I don't know if there's an exception being made there. But it's been obviously been difficult negotiations with him, I think. But at the end of the day, if we can see out this season, then they've got time, haven't they? The only concern would be is they've had time before and not used it. So let's just hope that if he is due a move and there's a move lined up for the summer, then we've got plans in place. Because I think if he's going to stay now, and I think that should be enough to keep us up. So short term, great, but longer term, we've got to make sure that he's properly replaced. I think, because as you said earlier, Dave, he's our talisman, and without him, where's the inspiration coming from?
Well, absolutely. And do you know what? You're absolutely right. I mean, like, Cunha goes today or tomorrow. There's no time to replace him in the summer, But I will say this: we never was going 3 or 4 summers in a row, and he never went. So you never actually really do know, do you? At the end of the day, everyone will probably expect there might be a bidding war. There might be a fee in there. Johnny might know a little bit more than us, or he might not. Well, when we come back to Johnny. But Jason, over to you on the game yesterday, and obviously the Cunha situation. Talk us through the game and how you're feeling before the match and your emotions and everything, Jason. Your thoughts?
Well, I think like most people, as soon as the team sheet come out, a few of us balked at it because we saw that Sarabia and Bellegarde was brought back in. Now, I really like Pablo Sarabia as one example, and I don't think we've seen the best of Jean-Ric Bellegarde. So I think a few of us, like I said, balked at it and thought, and I've seen some comments on social media, don't know why I'm bothering going to the match. They're starting Bellegarde. And you know what? How wrong could, they all have been, or we all have been? Because if you watch the first goal in particular, I mean, we'll come to the Cunha goal. If you look at the first goal in particular, that ball from Pablo Sarabia, if Ruben Neves had done that, that'd be on, we'd be watching it in from every different angle. To play that ball through to Bellegarde as he did, it was just threaded.
It was a beautiful reverse ball, wasn't it?
Oh, listen, fantastic. But listen, if you get to play in your career for clubs like Paris Saint-Germain, Mug, Sarabia is a hell of a player. Yes, the argument could be he's a little bit lightweight. Once again, he's probably a player I don't think we've seen the best of, but we know he's technically gifted. He's probably one of the most, him and Matheus Cunha, 2 of the most technically gifted players in the squad. So that ball he did to Bellegarde still had to finish. And bearing in mind, this is a player who's got no confidence at the minute because they know what's going on social media. He hasn't been in the best form, and it was a great finish. And I think that set us up, really. And the defending, as Johnny alluded to earlier, the defending throughout the game was brilliant. Yes, once again, I agree with Johnny and George that we could have had a cushion in the first half with more goals. But personally, for me, that was the best performance under Pereira that we've had so far. And I think I've seen a statistic as well that we've had 3 wins under Pereira, yet we only had 2 under Gary O'Neill this season so far. So he's already done a better job than his predecessor. And the second goal was the icing on the cake for me. When you're 1-0 up against Aston Villa, especially in the second half, when they was coming on to us a bit more, we was inviting the pressure. I was obviously a little bit nervous, thinking, do you know what? If they score now, and we'd have been massively deflated. And once again, I've got to agree with Johnny. That ball up to Matheus Cunha. If you look at the position was in, and he's been in this position a few times this season where he's going away from goal, what's he going to do? And he just pull a goal out of nowhere. And there's not many players, not just at Wolves in the league, that can get goals from positions like that. And you know what? Even when the defence come back, he still knew he had to get his shot off, and he put it right in the corner. Bearing in mind, Martinez is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. So to do that in the last couple of minutes of the game, he's deserving of winning any match. So for me, it was definitely the best performance I've seen this season. Clearly the best performance under Pereira. And what was important for me, Dave, was that so many players stood up and were counted. You look at Matt Doherty, who is now 300 games in absolute club legend, and he is. Has he been the Doc that we had under Nuno? Probably not. but he seems a more mature Doc. He seems yesterday was probably his best performance since he's been back at the club, in my opinion. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And the defence, we've been worried about the defence, but that Agbadou, I mean, he looks.
He was dishing out the orders as well in the centre thing. He was literally, he dropped it. Obviously, he moved him into centre. He dropped out Santiago Bueno. Totti came in on the left. Who, by the way, Totti Gomez, he gets a lot of stick. He was absolutely brilliant. He went on that one run as well, didn't he? He got brought down.
I want to come on to the defence quickly because Agbadou, for me, like I said, that was a player we desperately needed. I spent a good 5 minutes watching him yesterday, watching his movement, watching his leadership. And you know what? He really is a massive addition to this squad. Totti Gomez, I've been quite critical of him on social media, and I put this tweet out earlier for a couple of reasons. One, he's very, very one-footed. He does rely on his left foot all the time. And two, there can be a bit of a mistake in him. Yesterday, for me, I know a lot of people rate him. Yesterday, for me, that was once again, he really stood up. And I think there's another, under Pereira, I think all 3 wins have come with Totti in the team. So, you know what? For me, he really earned his colours yesterday. I was really impressed with Totti Gomez. And across the pitch yesterday, out of them 11 players, I think they all was just head and shoulders above what they've been this season.
Absolutely. Now, Johnny, back on to you. I mean, just you watching the game generally and watching, obviously, the difference between Gary O'Neill and Vitor Pereira. I thought the energy levels were fantastic yesterday, the way we were closing down. We were really on top of Villa. They looked hungry. They have had a bit of a thing like they weren't interested and stuff. They really looked up to the fight yesterday. I walked away from that game and Emma said the same. If we have got that level of commitment and fight that they showed yesterday and energy and boisterous and togetherness that they showed, then I feel a lot more positive about our chances of escaping this situation that we're in, because they really did look like they were up for it. They were really wanting to fight and they were battling, that they hadn't given up. What was your takeaway from the whole game and the difference that you've seen from watching from different sort of perspectives between Gary O'Neill and Vitor Pereira? And obviously you've had the chance to speak to the guy as well and interview him a couple of times probably.
I mean, it just seemed to have a little bit more balance and a little bit more structure. I think the back three, there were lots of standout performances yesterday, but, as Jay's touched on there, I think the back three were definitely the three who gave us the basis for it. And if you combine their physicality, I mean, Doc was just really winning all the 50-50s. He was nipping in and getting the ball. He was phenomenal, Doc, yesterday. And with him, Agbadou and Totti, and then with Bellegarde and Andre, where you need physicality in a team, we had it, and we had that energy. And then where you need the guile, which is further out wide and up front, we had that too. We had it with the wing backs, but we had it particularly with Sarabia and Cunha as well. And it just felt to me as if we had. And Guedes, in defence of him, had a decent enough game as well. I know he missed a couple of chances. There was one he couldn't have done too much better with. I know he didn't hit the target for the other, but I just feel that there was that sort of balance that we had previously lacked, and it wasn't particularly a balanced side on paper. And that's where I think you've got to give Pereira great credit, because I think what had been missing in Gary O'Neill's tenure is that the shape would fall apart and there would be big holes, and we became very easy to pick off. And I don't think we were easy to pick off yesterday by any stretch of the imagination. I think it was a really disciplined performance. We showed the best of ourselves, and it was without doubt Pereira's biggest moment so far. I know he had a couple of wins early on, but when you look at the teams he beat and the struggles they've had of late, I think this was a big win. It was, as I touched on earlier, it was the perfect time to play Villa, but it was absolutely it was a big win for Pereira, and I think you can't underestimate what that's done within the dressing room. I did speak to Doc and Pablo Sarabia after the match, and Doc said, I said, have you been feeling the pressure? And he said, no, we hadn't been feeling the pressure. We knew we had this performance in us, but there's one thing knowing you've got that performance in you and knowing you've got that result in you, and there's another thing delivering it. And I think in many respects as well, it probably takes the pressure off what's going to happen in the next 24 hours to some degree. We all want Wolves to strengthen, but you look at that team yesterday, and it's not a team that gets relegated.
I love it. Right, we're going to we've got some video phone-ins from some fans from around the world, so we're going to listen to what they have to say, and then we're going to come back with our man of the match and our performance rating before we then move on into the rest of the January transfer window and of course deadline day. First of all, here's Azia.
Hi everyone, it's Asa from Parma here, currently still in Wolverhampton. I attended a match yesterday and it was the best match I've seen in a very long time. Plus it was a derby, so it's even more special. After a month, I finally saw the pack. I saw the pack yesterday. We played extremely good. We defended super well, which is kind of strange for Wolves. As you know, our defense is not that good. Most of the time, the opponent's score is because of defensive errors. But yesterday, we were on top. The whole team was on top. As I said, my man of the match is Totti because it was literally everywhere. He was defending, he was pressing, he was attacking, he was everywhere. He was really, really brilliant. Villa put in the effort. If you saw the game, you could agree the first half should have ended like 3-0, but we had a couple of big chance missed, and despite that we managed to win. We didn't let them through, they didn't score, and Nino. And so we won 2-0 with a very early goal and a very late goal yesterday. Sorry, I'm still buzzing. They had their chances, 20-25 minutes to stoppage time. Nino. And if you saw the video, as you may have noticed, when they asked me my moment of the match, I got like stuck because just the fact of being here means a lot to me. It's not easy for me to come to Wolverhampton. I do not have an airport nearby. The plane is at usually 6 a.m. That means I have to take my car at 2 a.m. So it's really not that easy. And just walking through the city, seeing the stadium, attending the match, it means a lot to me. And yesterday we won, so I was even more, let's say, confused. And plus, it was my father's birthday yesterday. He would have turned 65. So I had really a mix of emotions yesterday. I just couldn't answer. Hear my answer now. So have a great Sunday. Yes, it's Sunday. And see you all for the match against Liverpool.
Hey Dave, Noah here from Monterey, California. So it ends Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Aston Villa 0. What an incredible result for Wolves today. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch the game. I have been working all week for a golf tournament in Pebble Beach in Monterey, California, so wasn't able to watch this one today, but I did watch the highlights during my lunch break as I was working, and boy, I mean, it just seemed like we had chance after chance after chance, and we were just controlling the ball. Villa did get a goal, but it was ruled out for offside, quite rightly, because the Villa player blocked, I think it was Semedo, prevented him from tracking the run and preventing the ball into the box, which was then scored on. But just overall, a huge result. Couldn't have gone much better, aside from Danso backing out of the deal, and the deal getting hijacked by Tottenham. Of course, Leicester and Ipswich both lose, so we're out of the relegation zone. But just even more so than that, Cunha signs the contract. That's huge. You know, you don't have to worry about that. It feels like finally there's just this sense of calmness, maybe confidence to our game finally. Now this is just a start. We have a long ways to go, right? That said, this is a great starting point. And by all means, if this is a turning point of our season, it's something we can, lord over Villa fans' heads for the rest of the season and the next season, when eventually, if we continue down this path, I feel we will probably get relegated. But that being said, for this season, it's a sweet feeling And just, an incredible result. It was much needed. Bellegarde finally, showed his quality, which is really good to see. Hopefully has found a place on the team now and found his best position. Just great to see. It's on to next weekend, who I forget we play because I just haven't checked the schedule. Anyways, take care, everyone. Enjoy the 3 points, and enjoy the rest of your weekend as well. Always Wolves.
Hey, David Neal calls. We just wrapped up a brilliant 2-0 win against Villa. We have a couple of lucky charms from Wolverhampton here. What a performance, mate. Honestly, Villa's equaliser should have stood, shouldn't it? But hey, what are we at now? Like minus 22 on VAR, so we'll take it. But hey, massive performance. For a team low on confidence and low in the table. Brilliant. Just so good defensively. We look dangerous going forward. We should have been out to sight by half time, let's be honest. But, we dug in, we stuck in there, and there you go, a little video in the background as well. Absolutely massive. Everyone defended like their lives depended on it, because honestly it did. And then we got that second from Cunha, who honestly I really sometimes think Cunha tries too hard, which God bless him for it, but I don't know if he's just having trouble focusing, but he wasn't as effective today in the last couple of games. But man, what a time to break out of that rut and score a goal. What a brilliant goal as well. In the corner, making us sweat for 96 minutes or whatever. But massive win, especially with Ipswich losing, Leicester losing. We're out of the relegation zone. We got a bit of a gap. This was the match that I think we stood the best chance of getting points out of. Going into it, I wouldn't have minded a point, but to get 3 is absolutely fantastic. So, well done, everybody. Well done, Wolves. You can't fault anybody, except maybe Guedes for not getting a hat-trick in the first half. But that's okay. We won't be too hard on it. Up the Wolves, mate. See you soon.
So, yeah, some fantastic reactions from around the world there. It's just great to see, no matter where they are, the joy of having that win, because we've suffered so much. Now, Jason, let's go over to you now. Give us your moment or highlight of the day, your performance rating, and your man of the match for the Villa. And after this segment, we're going to be moving on to the transfers. I'm going to go Jason, George, and then back to Johnny.
Yeah, first of all, you could tell that lady was in Wolverhampton by the amount of police sirens that was flying past the flipping Red Wings Lodge. Okay, so I'll go for performance rating. I'm going to go 8 out of 10. Like I said, across the park yesterday, I thought everyone put a really good, maybe actually a bit more than that. I'm going to go 9 out of 10 because I think we didn't buckle under pressure, and we did have a lot of pressure, by the way, especially the second half. So I'm going to go for a 9 out of 10. I thought, across the pitch, I think Sarr played very well. I mean, no one's mentioned Sarr's. He made a great save with his feet in the second half. Sarr was brilliant. The defence was brilliant. The midfield was brilliant, and obviously the strikers. Everyone did their job. Guedes as well. He's a really calm player. It was unfortunate that he put that one wide, but the fact that he gets in those positions in the first place is, very, very important. Man of the match for me, John Bellegarde, for a number of reasons, but in the main, he does get a lot of stick, and I just think when a player, not only did he score a goal, he just played very well throughout the game. I've heard a lot of people, a lot of noise saying that he's more centrally focused than being pushed out into the wing, which Gary O'Neill did with him. How true, I don't know, but isn't it strange that he played down the middle yesterday and it was his best game in a Wolves shirt? So he's man of the match for me. And moment of the game, right at the end when Matheus Cunha just wrapped it up, because we'd have took the 1-0 and we'd have been happy with it. And, we're sitting on the edge of our seats every time Villa attacked, thinking, here we go. And then as soon as that went in, we knew. Yes, he kissed the badge. He was very emotive. He was tears in his eyes. It's all great to see. I think he's going in the summer still. But even so, he signed a contract. There's lots of positives. So that was moment of the match for me.
Absolutely brilliant, mate. Much appreciated. George, let's hear your take on that.
So performance rating, yeah, I'm gonna go for a 9 as well. The only reason it's not a 10 is purely because if we'd have finished those chances first half, would have been 4-0 up, and that would have been a 10. But it's never perfect. But I think that second half, do you know, I've kind of noticed. I think there's still a mentality, so like a fragility to us, where I feel like Vita's ideas, yeah, and game plan. I think what he's contending against is when we go a goal down. I think when we go a goal down, that's when our mentality comes in, and I think we're still a bit weak in that department. But if we take the lead, there seems to be a belief that, you know what, we can actually now get a clean sheet. We can actually now absorb some pressure, hit teams on the break, and carry out what Vitas wants us to do. It's just when we slip behind, which I think we saw against the likes of Newcastle and Chelsea, isn't it? I think their heads go a little there, and I think that's why I think he comes across in his press conferences very, very calm, very measured, and he puts his Instagram posts out, doesn't he, trying to get the fans on board. Because I think he's very in touch with. I think he's read that straight away. Gary was always saying they're an emotional group, and I did an article for you about that and how I thought that was quite a damaging label actually, because calling that out as it is, you've got to try and harness that emotion and put it in the right areas. And I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get everyone back on in that same sort of channeling it positively, if you like. But yeah, as soon as we took the lead off, even though we didn't go and get 2, 3, 4, whatever, I still felt quite confident because we look well organised. I mean, Agbadou, Jason was mentioning earlier what a leader he is, and I didn't realise that he was a captain back in France, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Captain. And he's coming here and he's not captain, but he obviously brings that, doesn't he? Brings that leadership to bring another team's captain. I think there's a lot to be said for that, and you're seeing that. Who would I give man of the match to? I think it's easy to give it to Bellegarde, but I'll go for someone different purely because Bellegarde's grabbed all the attention because obviously he was coming in and no one was expecting much from him, and he's putting a performance like that. I'm going to give it to his midfield partner, Andre, because it's the fact that you didn't really notice him. He got about his business. And for me, we just dominated the midfield, dominated the game, really, especially that first half, absorbed it second half, and he went about his business absolutely perfectly. And a lot of Bellegarde's performance, for Bellegarde to go and flourish like he did, he needed Andre to have he always gives us a 7 out of 10, but he needed Andre to have a good performance as well because he was carrying that a little bit, and I think we can miss that. But Andre was solid as always, and I'll give it to Andre. Moment of the game, I'm gonna go for
the day.
Oh, moment of the day. Well, I'm still gonna give it for the same thing. I'm gonna give it for that VAR decision because I honestly think that they would that he knows what he's doing there, Rodgers. Yeah, he just checks Semedo's run, and that's my moment of the day to give that, yeah, and not overturn it because I think they were trying it on. He's checked Semedo's run to allow the other guy to come in on the outside, and he's done it from an offside position. So for me, moment of the day is the fact that I think
they got it right.
Yeah, I think they've got it right for once, and I think that you shouldn't be allowed to play those sort of manipulative little cheeky games and get away with it. So justice was done.
It's not the NFL, is it? Where the blockers and stuff like that,
they always try and get that little advantage, and usually they get away with it. So I'm glad that justice was done as far as I'm concerned. So that's my moment.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to move on to Johnny now, just to let you know that we've got well over 1,000 of you watching live on the show, which is absolutely fantastic. So if you want to get involved in the chat on YouTube, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button and you can join in the comments. I know lots of you are getting in. We're trying to put some of the comments on the screen for you as well. Johnny, as a fan, same points, man of the match, performance rating, and your moment of the day. Anything of the day. Could be having a nice pie if you want.
I had a nice mixed grill afterwards, actually, at one of those Desi pubs. But anyway, that's by the by. That wasn't the moment of the day. I'll probably give 8 out of 10 on the performance. I think the first half was magnificent. They lost their way for a little bit of the second half, but sort of rode it out. And then, you know, there was that brilliant finish. So a good solid 8 out of 10. It's a hard man of the match because whoever you give, there'll always be someone who'll say, oh, surely it should have been so-and-so. Listen, it could have been any one of, say, 7 or 8, easily man of the match. I'm going to give it to Doc, the way he's played in that role. You know, he's not as quick as he once was. When he goes in for challenges, he's got to get there. He didn't miss a beat yesterday. And I'm going to give moment of the match probably that Totti run, because he was magnificent too as well. And it was nice to see. It's nice to see like players like Totti and Doc shine. I'd say there was so much to love about yesterday. In a sense, man of the match feels a bit trite, but yeah, let's give it to Doc because he's taken a bit of flack since he's been back in the team.
Yeah, he seems to be it seems to be really thriving in that role as well. He hasn't got to run up and down the pitch as much. He's a wildly old character. He's Dot. He's been around. He's come up against the best. He knows his position. You know, we need that experience as well, and he's done really, really well. And I thought the 3 at the back and both of the full backs, the wing backs, did incredibly well yesterday. And I was saying at half time when we were winning 1-0, if anyone's watched my match vlog back, I said, what I want more than anything is a clean sheet. If we get a clean sheet in the second half, regardless of what happens, we win the game. And I think psychologically, like what you were saying there, George, I think the fact that they've got that clean sheet is quite a psychological barrier that they got that and they dealt with it. And to be honest, Villa were having pot shots from long range, but they never really had one clear, real shot. Okay, the free kick, which was, in my opinion, was rightly ruled out, because they did block and he was offside and it was interfering with play. But other than that, they never really had anything. You know, some like what Jason said, Sarr made a good save when he needed to, but it was a long range shot. But he did really well to tip it to the side as well, and they cleared it. A couple of moments of panic, but a very, very good clean sheet. Now, Johnny, I want to just move on now from the game to ask your thoughts on the on rating, if you can, and your thoughts on the on this winter transfer window. Agbadou, I think everyone can see he was a bit nervous when he first came in, but he seems like he's really started to settle in to the squad. He's starting to get more confident. He's starting to get up with the pace of the game. But that's who we bought. Manu Silva, obviously, they got the deal done, went to Benfica, his boyhood club. Cunha finally signed that contract extension, which has, for now, ended all the speculation, and we should just enjoy Cunha for the next few months till the end of the season. It's going to be big having him in because the priority is staying in this division. And then Kevin Danso, you know, who we've been dancing with probably for 18 months. He's been in and out more than the okie dokie. Kevin Danso, you know, we were in the lead. Then there's Rennes came in, and then we got back in it again because I don't want it to. Why would he go? Then Juve's come in. That's broken down. Oh, and then it's coming for a medical. And then last minute, I think Tottenham had another injury to one of their defensive players in midweek, and he's literally got on the same plane and then gone to Tottenham and signed. So another one that's lost it, you know, as a primary target. We've got a day left of the transfer window. What are your thoughts on all of that? And do you expect another couple of signings still to happen tomorrow?
I think it becomes difficult to get players in at this late stage. In truth, I don't think anyone particularly knows, and I go as far as the people making the deals when I say that, just because of the late nature of it and because the way everything seems to be played out in the media now. You know, you've got people like Fabrizio Romano who are sort of in cahoots with agents to put stuff out there. And I know Wolves have been really frustrated in this window about a lot of the rhetoric around Matheus Cunha and have found a lot of the coverage really unhelpful of the situation. And that's absolutely to do with agents. And, you know, without doubt, Giuliano Bertolucci, Cunha's one, has certainly been speaking to people, and there've been agendas going on left, right and centre. So it's a difficult window. It's a bad window. Wolves did really well to get Agbadou in quickly. That sort of calmed a bit of the panic. They certainly need more players, but whether or not they get them is another matter. What I would say is there could be something to be said for not going all in now with a half-measure player who would perhaps help Wolves out and help Wolves with numbers till the end of the season, but would not meet a longer-term strategy. And by that, I mean, I think Wolves are reaching a bit of a turning point, and they've had a bit of an identity crisis over the last season or two. And I think there are indications from the club that they might be turning back to what is perhaps more familiar model. And that obviously means a stronger ties with Gestafood again. I think some of the signings have been a success, some clearly haven't. But I think that the mix and variety might not have served Wolves well. And the fact that under Gestafood, and particularly Valdir Cardoso, when Wolves first had that early success, Valdir was not just an agent, he was
he was at every game, in that he was pretty much there all the time, didn't he?
And he was very useful in terms of he kept the overseas players from that portfolio very happy and content, and he understood what Wolves needed, and there was an element of togetherness that he could bring with that. His role was far more than just an agent, and it was a unique relationship that Wolves had, and for whatever reason that relationship drifted slightly, although never ever went away, and Wolves obviously went down a different path, and the merits of that I'm not sure about. So I would possibly argue that you could say if money is an issue now, and there are hopes that it won't be as big an issue in the summer, then why not pool resources and give it a proper go in the summer for a reset? It feels like this is the moment to reset, with Vitor Pereira coming in and his links obviously with the same agency, and the fact that there seems to be now an opportunity to reassess where Wolves are at as a club and perhaps recapture a bit of the identity that served them so well. Whereas if we start flinging a cash about in desperation in the next 24 hours, where will that leave us? I don't know. So I'm not entirely sure. On one level, I think the club desperately needs numbers now. On another level, I think there's an opportunity to reset. I think the club very high up, at the top level of the club, I think there is now an acknowledgement that things haven't gone well, that there has been an element of underinvestment, and that something has to change, and that they have to move back to that identity and that sort of I don't know what the word is, but certainly the sort of what gave them their USP, what made them a real success in those days. Get back to those qualities that gave them the edge over clubs of a similar size. And I just wonder if it might be a better time to have a reset in the summer.
Well, for 100% definite, they have turned back a little bit to Mendes. I think Valdir was called back last week at the Arsenal game. He was having to drive back from Scotland, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not sure he made it to the game, but he was supposed to be there. I know that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was called back. From my understanding, there was a meeting later on, and Valdir was summoned, and he was coming back from. He was in Scotland for whatever reason, so he's you might have heard the same thing. He was having to come back. Obviously, you know, Chairman Guo was over at the same time from Fosun, so getting a load of people in the room. I think Valdir was working quite hard on getting the Danso deal through. Danso's agent, interestingly enough, is the same agent as Mario Lemina's agent, interestingly enough, from what I understand. Obviously, that's fell through with Danso. I think there's a link to another defender, a midfielder that they've been linked with, which is Volodymyr Braskov from Dynamo Kiev. There's one that they've targeted, which is an athletic midfielder, supposedly like a Ukrainian type of Declan Rice. It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds tomorrow. Jason, back to you, mate. How, as a fan, obviously, you know, we've all had our frustrations and stuff. You know, the win yesterday in some ways can mask a lot of things because we're a lot more happy. We're at the relegation. We've seen, well, actually, that's a really good performance. Where are you with the January window? Do you still, if they bring anyone else in, because I have a lot of other fans that come on and they've said many, many times, this is what's going to happen. At the end of the transfer window, it's going to go, we tried, we couldn't quite get it over the line. You know, they didn't meet our valuation, and people have been saying that for 2 weeks, and it feels like a day out. We're almost, those sort of fans are going to be able to say, told you so, same again. What's your view on what your feeling and obviously Johnny's perspective as well, which is a fair comment.
Well, I always maintain, Dave, that whatever goes on the pitch, dictates what goes on off it. So when we're in a bad run, we're blaming the board, we're blaming this, we're blaming that, and all of a sudden the heat does go off on when we do get a win, or we string a couple of wins together. And you're quite right, it can mask things. Now, we've got to make no mistake at the minute, Faust and shift has changed massively. And I believe, and it's evident to see, that we are a selling club. That's the reality. And you can look at that by looking at the players that we bring in. Now, the January window is always tough because players do get overpriced. And when you leave your business this late, we're clearly, one, we're not getting our first choice targets. And two, we're going to be seriously paying over the odds if we do any deals now, unless we get some loan deals in. I'm disappointed in the lack of business that we've done. But what I will say is we've made the one signing effectively, which is Agbadou, who we can see is a quality player. And it was in a position that we so desperately needed. So it's not like we're bringing in players for the sake of it, because you can go on social media and we're linked with everyone. And, I'm not an expert in world football and I don't know who half these players are. But you look at this Agbadou and he looks to be a good signing. So I think it's important that we do look at quality over quantity. I mean, that's the most important thing. I do think as well we've got enough in the tank to keep us up with the squad we've got. Could we do with a little bit more depth, perhaps? But I do think there's enough in the tank to get us over the line. But we don't want to be, a nearly team. We don't want to be, happy with 17th this season, which invariably I think we are going to have to almost accept that. If we finish around there, we're going to be over the moon. So although it hasn't been great business, we're clearly not wasting money. But Fosun aren't going to get into bidding wars. If there's a player, I mean, you look at Danso, for example, they're only going to pay so much for that player because they've got to look at the sell-on value of him. They've got to look at what they're going to pay him contractually over 3 or 4 years if he was to sign permanent. And when they look at that, if they're going to be looking to make a loss on him, they're an investment company. They're not going to get into these bidding wars like some of the other teams do. For a player like Danso to effectively pass his medical at Wolves or come to Wolves for a medical, and then
he was. I don't think he had the medical. I think he was scheduled for the medical, and then he decided to go for a medical in London instead.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we've got to be completely honest. You see, it was only a loan move anyway, but we've got to be completely honest. Where we are in the table and, Spurs in the new stadium, it is a more attractive proposition. Listen, I'm a Wolves fan. I'm not saying, I'm not dissing us out here, but it's an extremely attractive proposition, but we're going to lose that. But this is the problem. When we're teetering around the relegation places, forget the fact that we've won yesterday. When we're teetering around the relegation places, there's only a certain type of player that we're going to attract. There is. So for me, look, he's clearly not got the fight in him, doesn't want to be here. I haven't got a problem with that. But I'm just, back to your point. Have we done enough? Probably not. But I think we've got enough to get over the line. We've still got some tough fixtures till the end of February. But if we can pick up points against teams like Villa, there's no reason we can't pick up points against your Bournemouth, against these teams. What went in our favour yesterday as well, which we haven't mentioned, is the fact that all the teams around us seem to, apart from Southampton, but I think they're out of it, all the teams around us lost. So it was so important yesterday. So that actually even added a bit more pressure on us going into the game, the fact that it would have created more of a cushion by winning the game. But with the transfer window, I can't see really anything being done now, Dave. I'll be completely honest. So, yeah, I think it's as good as it's going to get. It's disappointing, but I think we've got enough to get us over the line.
Okay, George, thank you ever so much for that. George, you've been quite forthright in your thoughts. A day out from the transfer window. I mean, Kevin Danso, for me, I'll just give you my thoughts. I think... I think we could have moved quicker to get that deal done. I think when it's out in the public domain, they're leaving themselves open to get Isaac. The 2 deals that they've worked on, I feel like Kevin Danso, Wolves were always second choice. It was like, well, I'll go to Juve, or that's not happened, or I'll go back to Wolves, and then Tottenham are coming. Oh, yeah, they're down in London. It's a bit more glamorous than thingy. They've got big European football, bigger stadium. I'll go there, and it's like, I kind of like he's quick and they wanted him as a primary target, but like I want a player that wants to come to Wolves and be a Wolves player. You know, be honest with your thoughts a day out from the transfer window. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Where are you?
Look, I think Danso's obviously gone now. Pereira seems to have a lot of trust in Doc in that right centre back position. So I think I think they'll prioritise this Brasco guy, because I think
The midfielder.
the Ukrainian midfield guy. I think they're going to prioritise him. I saw something today saying Mendes is on the case, and that's who that's because I think that's what VP is going to have gone to the board and I think said, look, I can get us through. Yeah, without another defender through the door. Yeah, Doc can do it there. You know, there's options now. Bueno was on the bench, for example, against Villa. There's options to get us through the end of the season, which obviously links back to what Johnny was saying about let's have a rebuild in the summer. Yeah, under a manager that, look, I think we were going down under Gary. So a manager who's come in, got a clear system, a clear way he wants to play. I think he'll say, look, okay, I can make do with defence, but I think he'll need another midfielder. Bellegarde's obviously stepped up, but this Brasco guy, looks a different kind of midfielder to Bellegarde, and I think
he's that athletic midfielder that he's been
range,
talking about.
Right, like Declan Rice, like I think someone mentioned it earlier, but rangy ball player, and at the end of the day, he's not a magician, is he, Pereira? He's going to need options, game by game options, and Bellegarde's now a good option. It's going to be interesting to see what he does. Obviously, I think he'll play Bellegarde in the cup, but then interesting against Liverpool.
And, well, don't forget Tommy Doyle as well. I mean,
I don't think Pereira fancies him, mate.
He says in his and Johnny, you'd have probably been at that press conference. You might have been for the game, but he talked interestingly when he was asked about the midfield. He talked about Bellegarde. He talked about Tommy Doyle was more of an 8 to 10. He was asked about players. He did look a little bit frustrated when asked about the incomings.
Yeah, he's desperate to get incomings, definitely. You know, why wouldn't you be? You know, it's his reputation on the line. George is right on Doyle. He doesn't fancy him, certainly in the positions that are vacant in the team. And I think he just wants that to beef up the midfield area. And I think that's what he was trying to get across. You know,
I think he sees the Doyle's more of 1 for a 3 rather than a 2.
But he's rigid on his system, and I think he values Doyle as a character and what he brings to the team, and he'll always have a place coming on in games, I think, and he likes what he brings. But he knows his system, doesn't he, VP? He's not gonna change that, and that in many ways that's very valuable. Do you know what I mean? Like he said something in one of his press conferences saying, "No, I can't change the system because of a player's missing." That's a
when
very
he was talking about Strand Larsen. When people were asked about Strand Larsen, Johnny,
go on, carry on.
Yeah, Johnny, did you feel a little bit of frustration from Vitor in how he was answering the question? I just feel like, because he said at the end, "I'll do my best," but he feels like I felt like there was a little bit of frustration that they've still only got the one in.
Yeah, absolutely. He wants more, you know, absolutely. You know, to be sure, we need, you know, we do need more. There's no doubt about it. You know, they're of the right type. So yeah, he is frustrated, but I don't think he's going to kick up a fuss about it. I don't think that. And I just think they're all on the same page a little bit more than they were, even pre-Christmas. When things were tailing off badly, you know, on the last days of Gary O'Neill, it was a pretty toxic place. And I think Pereira's probably brought a little bit more than just a head coach with a strategy and a strategical mind along. I think this dynamic of the place is changing now. And I think there is an acknowledgement right at the top that it needs to change, and that whatever they've been doing for the past couple of years isn't working, and if that sort of rinse and repeat cycle will eventually catch up with us. I think what's really important to make, clubs of Wolves' size go down. They go down regularly. A club of Wolves aside, over a number of years, will eventually go down. I mean, so in that sense, Wolves always have to be ahead of the game. We've seen clubs bigger than Wolves go down in the last year or so. But we've seen clubs, plenty of clubs the same size as Wolves go down. So I think Wolves have to be ahead of the game. And I think Boston are aware of that. And I think what has happened is, they're aware of where things haven't worked, and they don't want to go down. They are committed to making a good fist of this, even though recent history suggests very much otherwise. I think there's now starting to become a little bit of an acknowledgement of that. I think the true test of all this will come in the summer, but certainly I think things will change, and I think they obviously need to change, because I think the fans have had a pretty raw deal in recent times, with the prices of the tickets going up, and the product on the pitch not improving at the same ratio.
Absolutely. George, you were just going to come in with a final point there on this segment.
I forgot what I was
gone
going
out your head.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say, mate.
Johnny, just a quick one before we move on to the next bit then. Do you think Wolves will stay up, even if they don't bring anyone else in?
Yeah, I do think they stay up, but not necessarily by any brilliance on their own part. Just that there are three teams who aren't good enough and who lack the resources below them. That's what will keep them up eventually. It won't be by anything they do. Spectacular themselves, but they should have enough. And I think the next few games will be a problem. I don't see them getting any change out of the next 2 or 3 necessarily in the league, but I still think there's enough there to get off. And that goes back to my point. Great, sign the right player now, but only sign the right player. Don't just sign another player who will, fill the squad, but not necessarily be beneficial to the club's long-term strategy. I'd far rather have spent the money in the summer, and I think there needs to be money in the summer.
Yeah, I think Victor Pereira sort of, when he said that, we want a player that's going to make a difference, not just one to make the numbers up, just to go, we've signed someone. So I think that's be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. So guys, that's on the transfer window. Obviously, if you're watching this back on catch up, if many of you do, leave your thoughts on all of this in the comment section below. And of course, if you're listening to it on the podcast as well, you can drop us an email as well. You will also be able to see all of this on our website, alwayswolves.co.uk. There's loads of things there, things learned, player ratings, all of that. We've got loads of stuff on there for you to read, lots of articles, so you'll be able to catch up on all of that stuff as well. We're going to move on to something a little bit interesting there, other interesting, shall I say, because Wolves in a couple of years' time will be officially 150 years old. It will be the 150th anniversary, and I'm sure that we want to be in the top division in the 150th anniversary. And as everyone knows, that generally the fans do not have any input on the kits. These are all planned. The kits for next year are already signed off, dealt with. They're already planned. Everything's planned over the year. All the discounts are structured. They're not reactive to sales. They are planned out throughout the whole year. So when people think, oh, yeah, there's 20% off this week, all of those things are already pre-planned well in advance. So the kit for next year is already sorted. For the kit for 2026, 27, which is the 150th anniversary, isn't. And there is a consultation process that is starting by the club for fans to be able to have to get opinions from the fan base, and that's starting with the fans advisory board, the experience groups, the retail group, match day experience, ticketing groups, and stuff like that, and a wider poll. We will be in attendance at a meeting on Tuesday, which is being held at Molineux. I think there's about 40, 50 different fans that are going to be there. We're going to be there. So we want to get your feedback on what you would like to see on Wolves kit for the 2026 season. Now, in the link below, and I want you guys obviously to join in the comments. I'm going to go around, start with Jason and then George, and also Johnny, get your thoughts as well. But in the link below, there is a Google form that we've done. So this is the Always Wolves Fan TV 150th anniversary kit feedback form. And you can see there what we want to know and give your points. You can have an answer. What are your most memorable kits, home and away and third, from the last 150 years? We put an image up there with all the kits. God forbid you want to play in blue and white stripes. God forbid. What are the most iconic moments for you in the club's 150-year history and why? Which or what logo badge would you like to see on any of the 150th anniversary kits? And there are all the logos and badges that we've had there, and you can select there on a multiple choice. Would you like it to be worn as a one-off special or for the whole season? I think Villa recently had a special they wore for one kit. They were a dark blue thing. And then also, what sort of style would you like to see? Collars, stripes, colours, fabrics. And then the final question is, let us know any other ideas you have around about the 150th anniversary, any events or ideas or merchandise or things like that that you would like to see. So I'm going to stop sharing that. The link is in the description below this video. If like there's nearly 1,100 of you watching live here, there's going to be another few thousand that'll watch it back. Fill that form in. It'll take you 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes. We can feed that back from you guys to the meeting. Let's go with you. I'll put it in the chat as well. Jason, your initial thoughts on, as a fan, what you sort of think, your instinct straight away on that.
Okay, so you're quite right, Dave. We don't want blue and white stripes, which is obviously our formative years. I really don't think that'll get down too well, and it'll be another stick to beat us with. I see what I would like to see, and I'm sure plenty of people will agree. Is exactly that, the town crest. We did wear it obviously for a couple of 3 seasons in the 90s. That's something I would like to see. With regards to the design, listen, there's so many different ways it could be done. For me, I always like a nod to the past. Maybe even seeing some of the iconic players' names in the shirt, very subtly, of course, but just something like that, just something with a real nod to the past, that some of these legends that are sadly no longer with us, but equally have played such an important part in the club's history as to...
Are you kind of like on the pattern of the shirt with the names sort of like embossed, that type of thing? Yeah. Listen, this is just obviously ideas I'm chucking out there, but I'd personally like to see something like that. I think what the old goal pack are doing at the minute is really good for the match day experience. And once again, I champion, the former players on my podcast and with the Wolves All-Stars and the books. I think they're so important to remember your past. I know Chinese ownership, I know the Chinese way sometimes isn't, too driven on the past, and it's all about the future. So I think this will be an opportunity where we can actually celebrate that. So that's something I'd like to see. I think what they've done recently as well with the goal kit that's come out, I do like it, by the way. I do think it's really nice. I think, yes, obviously Sudu's clearly going to be the manufacturer. What I would say is, though, I think it should be their logo should be on there. They're doing the work, they're putting it in, but I do think it should be very subtle. I think something traditional would be really, really nice. Like I said, a nod to the past with the players, and maybe the town crest with the sponsor on the front. If you are to wear it for the whole season, for example, you'd have to have a sponsor, because I think some of the shirts, some of the clubs that you see out there without a sponsor, the shirts look like there's something missing, and equally the finances are just so important and vital to the club. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it, Dave. Absolutely. George, your input on that initially. And guys, as I say, leave in the chat and make sure you do fill that form in, because we will feed that back on Tuesday. So as many people fill that form, and we can get a real consensus.
Yeah, I think it just depends. It depends how bold they want to go with it. I think red and white stripes just for one season, If you want to be bold, if you want to make a statement, go and do it. Go and do something big.
It doesn't have to be a home kit. It could be.
Can you imagine?
It could
be the second kit. It doesn't have to be the home kit.
But that's what's if we was to rock up and play a home game, like Arsenal seem to do this all the time in FA Cup games. They rock up playing all white.
No. What the Arsenal thing, the white with the thing, that's all to do with knife crime.
Oh, is it? Okay, I thought that was.
Yeah, that's why it's white with no red. It's all
They
to do
only
with
do
knife
that in the FA Cup though.
They do because I think it's to do. I think Villa did it with. I think it's to do because of Premier League rules or something changing the kit and stuff like that. Because it's in a different competition, I think it's easy for them to do it that way. And they always do it. But it's to do with knife crime. That is, mate.
Okay, I'd go bold. Let's go back to St. Luke's. Yeah, red and white stripes. Some little testament to the St. Luke's name. I'd say get rid of the sponsor for the year and put something
for the year.
Yeah, for the whole year, mate. Get rid of it for the year. No sponsor.
I think you'll struggle for that.
Get enough money. Okay, we'll have no sponsor and we'll have something testament to the city, to the history, and just have that on our shirt. Or what is it? Are you on about? Is it for one game? This kit, or is it for the whole season? The whole season?
Well, it's up for debate. I don't think. I think you could. Villa managed to get the sponsor off their kit for one game for their special thing.
Give
but for
us
the whole
season, red and white stripes.
Love it. JH has come up with a brilliant one. I like this. Players should wear Victorian style moustaches. I'm loving that one. Can you imagine if they all had the moustaches and stuff? Johnny, what's your initial thoughts on this as a fan, mate? Your take on it?
I'd probably have something. I mean, I've got no strong thoughts really, but I'd keep to Wolves, the football club, rather than the town. My favourite badge is the one which is just the wolf head with no peripheral stuff around it, like not even what's around it now, which is very simple. I think it's about, is it 79-ish to the mid-80s? There was just a wolf head with wolves written underneath. And then even that got messed. So that's my favourite one. I know there's the three leaping wolves goes down very well. With
there you go. Are you talking that
one
in the corner there?
Yeah, that one. Just that. Yeah. And I think that's really straightforward. And just gold and black. So if there was a sponsor, have a sponsor just in black. Been the sponsor for the actual anniversary game. But just keep it simple. I mean, you know, when I first started following Wolves, it was simple. And then it got horrific in the 90s with some... there was that tire mark strip. And then there was that awful one that looked 10 sizes too big on everyone, which sort of had I don't know if it was meant to be a giant wolf head within the shirt.
That one there.
Green away kit. Yeah, that one. I mean, that
one.
Yeah, they were particularly horrific specimens. And then, so as the 90s wore on, they got pretty tragic. And to be honest, I did like the one first season back in the Premier League. It was a bit yellow, but
that one there.
The Adidas one, it was a bit yellow, but if it could be a bit more gold, I had no issue with that. I really like that kit. It's just slightly off colour. But yeah, simplicity, a wolf head badge. I like Jason's suggestion of sort of players' names in shadow or embossed or whatever the technical word is in the kit. And I think Jeff Shear'd be a brave man if he followed George's suggestion and sent us out in red and white. Right, there you go. What else has he got to lose?
There it is. There it is. At least he hasn't gone for the blue and white stripe one on the next to it.
No, even I wouldn't suggest that, Dave.
I was looking at this over here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm pointing the arrow over it. You can't see if you listen to the podcast. What the hell was that? Like, you know, it was off centre, but there's some interesting ones there. So, yeah, I think yeah. I mean, I think the red and white, you might get away with it for an away kit. That would be tolerable because I can't remember if we ever played it a thing here. I kind of like the old 70s one with the three leaping wolves, and I think that's iconic. And I know people moaned about the badge being in the centre this year, but that was actually in the centre as well. So look, guys, there's so many here on the chat. I say 1,100 watching live, more watching thing. That form. Literally, if you just take a little bit of time out, 5 minutes, the link's in the description below the video or the link's in the podcast. Just have a look. There's images on there. Fill it in. feedback your ideas, and then we will take this to the meeting on Tuesday night, and I'm sure there'll be a lot wider consultation as well. But I think it's really positive. For once that they, lots of fans have said we want an input on the kit. The problem is when you've got 30,000 people having an input, there's so many different ideas. So they've got to try and collate all of that. But at least they are opening out, because it is the 150th anniversary. They do want the fans to have some consultation on that. And I think that's a positive for the 150th anniversary. But I say it has to start now, because these things are planned so far in advance. And so fill the form in below for us. And if you're going to do that, if you've done that, smash a like on the video, smash a like in the chat. Let us know that you're going to do it. Put your thoughts and let me know in the comments that you filled it in as well. I can see actually we've already had 15 of you that have already filled in the form already, so that's fantastic. So thank you for that. And that's within 5 minutes. So we should get a real good vox pop of opinions. Right, FA Cup weekend next weekend. So we got FA Cup weekend, and then we're going to go for the last 5 minutes. We're going to have some open questions. So FA Cup weekend, I wanted to bring this up because the ladies, Wolves women, have got a massive game. And they're probably the biggest game in their history. They're in the last 16. They've been drawn at home. They're playing at Telford. They wanted to play it at Telford rather than at Molineux. The reason for that, it's their home ground. Their pitch is a bit smaller. They can make it their own. I went to when they played Brighton. I think it was in the similar round last year. It was they nearly won that game. It's a massive game. So Telford, 5 o'clock kickoff. Get yourself down there. If you've never been to watch the women play, go to that game, because it's a great atmosphere and they are Wolves and they will appreciate your support. And then the next day, Wolves away to Championship side Blackburn in the Cup, a big opportunity to get to the next round. Jason, how are you feeling about both of those ties?
Well, I think, listen, what Dan McNamara is doing with the Wolves women's team is absolutely brilliant. I really do. And it was good to see today that Lily Simkin, who's the daughter of former defender Darren Simkin from the 90s, that obviously she's got a contract now with Wolves women. So listen, massive game, and I just hope they get the numbers. I can't go sadly because I'm away, but do you know what? I think it's huge, and it's just testament to the hard work and commitment that so many people put behind the scenes into making Wolves women where they've got to. And it really is a brilliant achievement. I've had Dan McNamara on the podcast, and he's, really knows his stuff, and it's just great to see. And I'm so pleased as well, because if you remember, Dave, originally the matches were clashing. And
they were, and we were like, what the hell? And so glad they yeah.
Absolutely. And common sense prevailed, which it doesn't normally do with the FA. And obviously it's been switched. So obviously they're now on different days. Against Blackburn, I think it's I've got to say this, Dave. This argument comes out. Would you want to win the FA Cup and get relegated? That to me is just absolutely nonsensical. Why would we want to, I can, as a Wolves fan, and I know it's yours and your dad's dream to sing goodbye with me and win the FA Cup at Wembley, and I get all that, right? Play a final. Yeah, but these
mate,
people...
I don't want to go to the FA Cup and go down. Why can't we do both?
Absolutely, but Nathan Judah put it out the other day, and you see, oh yeah, I'd love that. No, I wouldn't. You could be out of the, it would really, really affect the football club. We could be out the top flight for years, as Johnny alluded to earlier. There's no guarantees for a club of any size. So to forfeit that for a day at Wembley is ridiculous, in my opinion. But saying that, with Blackburn coming up, we've got to put a full strength team out. Well, I don't think we've got much choice, have we? We haven't really got a weaker team to put out, but realistically, we've got to put a full strength team out, and this is a chance to obviously run in that competition. And isn't it great when you get to the quarterfinals and semi-finals? And we all remember these great days. So I'm just hoping we overcome Blackburn, and then we get a kind draw in the next round, and we have a good run in the cup.
Absolutely, George. The ladies playing next week against United. Your thoughts on that? I don't know if you've been to see the women play at all yourself.
Mate, I have. Yeah, I think I might be a good luck charm, mate. I went to the 8-0 at the Albion.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
and then a Blackburn next week. How strong do you want to go?
I think Pereira will go full strength. He did that against.
He said he used it as a training session because he hadn't got time to do any training. So yeah,
well, I can't see him doing any different. I think the only thing he'll do is he won't bring Gomez back in, or he might put Gomez in and take Andre out and rest one of those in midfield and give Bellegarde his a chance to carry on that momentum. But I don't know how to feel about Blackburn really. I think against Bristol City for some reason I felt quite confident and then I looked at the table the other day just looking ahead to Blackburn and Bristol City they're like 9th and Blackburn are 5th, so there's like 4 points between them, but we seem to be. I know we only ended up 2-1, but to me there looked a golfing class between us and Bristol City. But I had in my head that Blackburn's going to be a much tougher game, but obviously it could be. But I don't think there's that much difference in quality between Bristol City and Blackburn. So if we put out a strong side, we should be expecting a result there, to be honest, if that Bristol game's anything to go by. But yeah, I think he will go full strength. I think he'll just rest probably Andre or João Gomez, and maybe at the back he might rest Doc and bring in like Dawson or something. I think it'll only be a few little changes like that, and then Johnston in goal. But not wholesale. He'll still go quite strong because I think it's what he believes in, momentum. And I think momentum is key for us, to be honest, at the minute. I
winning
think
games, winning mentality.
And with the next couple of games coming up, Bournemouth and Liverpool, tough games. But then after that, there's a run coming up of about 5 or 6 games that are all winnable games. That is going to be absolutely key. So if we don't get anything against Bournemouth or Liverpool, it's a chance next weekend to just get a win under our belt and not fall into too much of a rut, if you like. So yeah, I expect him to go strong, and I've got a good feeling about it. Yeah.
Okay, Johnny. Again on the job that Dan McMurray did. I think the girls got a 1-1 draw against Rugby Borough today. They were 1-0 down. It's a point that they're playing against fully professional teams in their division. They've been doing incredibly well, and of course a massive game for the girls. I don't know if you've had chance to much to go and watch them as a fan, because I know you're so busy with obviously what you have to do with your work with Sky and all the media stuff, because you go where you have to go, don't you, on a weekend and stuff like that. And your thoughts ahead of Blackburn as well on both those games?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant opportunity for supporters to get behind the women's team for this one. It's a huge gulf when you're taking on a club of Manchester United's size. The gap in professionalism is pretty huge there, and Wolves are trying to get closer to that position, and it'll take time, and the resources are so different. But I think they will benefit hugely from the biggest attendance possible. I was speaking to Claire Hateman, who works at the club now, former player, and she was saying they just really desperately want as many in through the door to make it as big as possible. You could have played it at Molineux, but the odds are would be banks of empty seats there, even if it was a good crowd. I think picking this venue gives it the opportunity to fill it, and or certainly the aspiration to fill it. I'm not, and just give as much backing as possible because they deserve it. For Blackburn, it's a funny one. I'm such a great believer in the FA Cup. I love the FA Cup. I desperately want us to win the FA Cup. I just think maybe not this season. I'd be inclined to make a raft of changes. Pick most of the bench from the weekend. I just think it's probably not the season to do it.
But Johnny, we've got a whole week. It's because there's a whole week gap. It's like not like we've got a week's gap, so they don't play them. They've got 2 weeks after such a good performance. So
no, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know. I just think that we're a bit too close to the line to go deep into the FA Cup. I might be wrong. I might be proved wrong. But I just think if there's a season that we're going to win it's not this one. So that sounds so defeatist, and it sounds, you know,
Stranger things have happened, mate.
yeah, it's not my usual attitude. You know, I'm bearing in mind, you know, I've lived as long as I have without seeing us win anything. I probably would take the FA Cup and relegation. I'd take the FA Cup and anything, administration, whatever it is, just to see us win something. But realistically, I think in the modern game, as Jay said, you could be in the depths of darkness for quite some time if you go down. I just feel we could be on the precipice of a reset in the summer, and let's not risk that with a glorious run in the FA Cup, which ends with a 3-2 defeat to somebody in the last 4, and then knack our status in the league while we're at it. I don't know.
Mate, FA Cup and safety, that's what we want. My dad singing, me and my dad singing about my dad. I want it because like my dad's dream is to sing, go to Wembley and sing Abide With Me. We got like within 10 minutes, didn't we, of, you know, against Watford. We had all them, we blew it against Coventry last year. It's like my dad's not getting any younger, so like for me it would mean everything to go to an FA Cup final with my dad. But I wouldn't trade it to get relegated. I think we can do both, and I think sometimes you get a winning mentality, and if you're on, you know, I think if the win against Villa yesterday was fantastic. I think Ipswich are the new Luton. I think they've done amazingly, Ipswich, with what they've been doing, but Luton faded towards the end. I think Ipswich to do. I think Southampton, I thought, were due a result. I think Leicester are just, you know, they had the blip against thingy. I don't see any reason why, if we're in this position, like what we were saying 2 or 3 weeks ago, if we're just above the line when we hit end of February and we've got that better run of fixtures, we should be able to pull away. We should. And I think winning weeks, winning mentality. So let's go for the FA Cup and, you know, pull away and hope to get to Brentford on the last day, and not to worry, but this is Wolves. We will see. Now, guys, I'm just going to come to Johnny again a minute to talk about the bully thing, but now's your chance to put questions for the last 5 minutes for the panel. It could be a direct question to Johnny Phillips, as we've got in here, his life as a journalist, as a Wolves fan, his opinions on anything, Jason, George, or the panel. But before we get to that, I just want to come back again to talk a little bit more with Johnny about Bullies Night Out. So if you missed the start of the show, and there's now, you know, over 1,100 of you watching live still, which is fantastic. And by the way, if there's 30% of you that watch this ain't even hit the subscribe button, we do these shows for you. The only favor I ever ask is, look, hit the subscribe button. Support us by hitting that subscribe button. We've just gone over 35,700. So let's push us on towards 800. That would mean the world to us. And hit the like if you're enjoying it. Billy's Night Out. Johnny Phillips presents Billy's Night, Big Night. It's
Bullies.
Not Bullies, but yeah, not Billy. Bully's Big Night Out, but not Billy Wright, is it? Bully's Big Night Out. Thursday, the 1st of May, 2025 at the University of Hull's, the Wolverhampton Centre, celebrating Wolves legend Steve Bull's, can you believe, 60th birthday with a group of his former teammates. And tickets are available at the Hull's, wolverhampton.co.uk, supporting Wolves Foundation. Now, Johnny, I just want to go a little bit more into this about sort of like the format of the night and what people can expect.
Yeah, so we've got, I've done a few evening with theatres down the years with Bully, and this is a sort of expanded version of that. We're bringing in teammates from various stages of his career. We've got Andy Thompson, who came with him from Albion. We've got Andy Much, his great strike partner. We've got Robbie Dennison, who set up so many goals for him. 3 great players in the 80s for Wolves. A couple of those survived into the 90s. Then we're bringing Don Goodman in, who was his strike partner in the 90s, and Mike Stowell, who was the goalkeeper who spanned all his Bully's 90s career as well, is coming along too. We've got a couple of extra surprises as well, which I'm not going to reveal on the night. Guests who played a part in Bully's career as well. And it's a celebration of Bully, but it's also a celebration of Wolves in those times. There were some brilliant times, dragging ourselves off the floor in the 80s to get respectability. And then there were some dark times failing to get into the Premier League. But they were all really colourful in their own way. And we've got lots of video clips and archive footage of those days to help illustrate it. There'll be some great stories as well. You know, we might get to the bottom of what happened with Brian Law's bus crash. all those years ago. We might get to, there's all sorts of stuff off the pitch that they got up to as well in those times. But there's loads of stuff on it as well. And it's sort of, Bully's been connected to the club ever since he retired. He's had ambassadorial roles at the club in various different positions, and he's never left really. And I saw him yesterday, and he was on the mic with Paul Berry, who does a great job on the lounges yesterday. And he Bully is such a part of our club, and it seems a good way to raise funds for the foundation, which is really important. And I know something close to Bully's heart. Get some teammates together and have a drink and a laugh. And the Wolfram Hall's a great venue for that. You can come along. There'll be a bar will be open all night, even during the show. So if you do think it's flagging at any stage, you can just go and have a pint. But it'll be great fun. And I'd love to see as many people there as possible. There'll be Q&A as well. Fans will have their chance.
Is that I was going to ask, it's going to be like a Q&A as well?
Yeah, definitely. Well, fans are going to have the chance to pose questions to him. We'll get the lads to hang around as well. So there's loads we can do. And as you said, tickets are at the halls.
How much are the tickets, Johnny?
They're 25 quid. But I think there's a booking fee on top of that from the halls, but they're 25 quid. And that gets you a free raffle ticket to win a signed Bully shirt too. So it would be great. It would be great if we can fill the halls on that on the 1st of May. And
how much are you hoping to raise for the foundation?
Well, quite a lot. We're talking a considerable sum, because if it sells out, then it'll be a night that they can. I think it's 800. 800 seat venue, and if it,
it's a cracking venue as well.
Exactly, and obviously, after costs, there's a chance for it to raise into the thousands, and that would just be fantastic if you could raise several £1,000s on a night for the foundation and put this on for supporters. And we want to make it as accessible as possible. There's no sort of VIP element to it or anything. It's a 25 quid ticket, and that's what it is. So it would be brilliant if you could, if it was packed out on the night. And I think we'll run out of time on the night. We've got so much to cover and so many great guests. What
time are you thinking of start? What time is it? Sort of.
I think it's a 7:30 start, and we'll do 2 halves of at least an hour, and we'll see where we go. And it might be that the bar staff kick us out in the end, but it should be. It should be great fun and hopefully something to remember, and a good excuse to get fans together and reminisce about some good times and some shakier times.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've ever been to any of Johnny's events, they're absolutely fantastic as well. He puts them on really, really well. There's always loads of surprises in there as well, and some stories maybe that you wouldn't have heard as well. So look, and I'm sure that we'll get you on before the event to talk a little bit more about some more of the plans as we get closer to things. But it's raising money for the foundation. All of you that watch this channel know how much we support the Wolves Foundation. They make a difference to so many people's lives, whether it's the disability, the dementia, mental health. All age groups and stuff, and they do need to raise funds to be able to, to keep doing what they're doing. So it's a fantastic thing. You're going to get to go and reminisce with some of your idols, get together with a load of other Wolves fans, hopefully less stressful coming towards the end of the season. It would be nice. Talking about hopefully surviving and looking forward to another year in the Premier League. And if we're not, we can look back on some of the great times under Bully, and it'll be a great night and for a great cause. So again, the tickets are available from the halls, wolverhampton.co.uk, and obviously we'll get Johnny on again closer to the event to talk a little bit more about that. So yeah, if you're going to be going as well, let us know in the comments and stuff. I know some of you are probably already on there now. So look, final questions for the last 5 minutes. Let's scroll back up. Question here for Johnny. Hey Johnny, this is from What With Brother. Hello Johnny, what do you think of Fosun's long-term plan for the club? Wouldn't surprise me if the club was sold yet. Been thinking this the last 2 years. Are you on mute?
Sorry. Yeah, I can empathise with that statement. It wouldn't surprise me if the club was sold. It's not for sale. The last time I spoke with the owners, it was not for sale, and they maintain that's true. But every club has its price. When it's sold off, it'll be gone like that, and that's the way it will be. So in that sense, it wouldn't surprise me. But I do think the work they're doing, there's meetings going on locally with council and other private investors to try and generate something for growth locally. And they do, as I said earlier, I think there's now a recognition that there have been failings and that it can't go on as it is. And I think there will be more money available in the summer than there has been in the previous two. And I think the plan is for the club to be established and stay established in the Premier League. And I think there's probably an acknowledgement that they've rolled the dice the wrong way and it's not come up their way. And so I know it's hard to. It's funny, it's not been good. It's been a pretty bad 12 months, and it's hard. You look at the atmosphere's gone from Molineux in recent games, and there's a lot not to like about the way the club's gone. But then you saw yesterday that it might not take a whole lot to recapture it. And if Wolves and Fosun rather can recapture the identity of the team and the club that made it a together club and made that relationship with supporters strong, then it doesn't take a lot to turn it around. So I do think they're in it for a reasonably long haul, unless they get an offer that makes no sense to turn down.
They just can't refuse.
Yeah. I do think, I do think there was a desire there to sort of bring back an identity that's been missing. But because it's not been good, what we've witnessed the past couple of years has not been good.
George, this is from Ellie, one of our members. Thank you, Ellie, for becoming a member. I appreciate your support. Do you think we will sign anyone on deadline day? She saw something about we can't buy any more non-English players unless we sell one or take one out of the squad. What's your thoughts?
I think the most likely is going to be that Brasco chap, the Ukrainian player. As for the squad thing, as far as I know, we've got options in terms of we can now take Mosquera out. So and it just sort of, so as long as you can obviously name your 17 and you get as many non-homegrown as you like, but I think we can always tweak with there's a couple of peripheral players that we could take out that haven't been used. So I think, as far as I know, we could sign a non-homegrown player and put him into the squad. Yeah, so I think Brasco is going to be the priority. I really do.
Yeah, be interesting. We'll keep abreast on that. Make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell, because if there's any news, we'll report it. Jason, go with you. Would you prefer Doc or Santiago Bueno at centre half, mate?
That's a really difficult question, because if you'd have asked me a fortnight ago, I'd have probably said Santiago Bueno. But then you look at yesterday's performance, and I'd like Johnny said, he was nipping in, winning balls, first there every time, heart on his sleeve. So judging on yesterday, I'd actually say the Doc for a number of reasons. So yeah, I'd say the Doc, but that's a great question, by the way.
Absolutely. Question for the panel, Johnny, maybe you'll go back to you for this one. What happens with Lamina now? Does he stay or does he go? Does he stay or does he go? What's that track? It was a cracking track that was. Anyway, yeah, Johnny, Lamina, do you think he stays or goes, and does he come back into the squad afterwards?
Yeah, I think there's a route back into the squad. I think Vitor Pereira's been really clever. He's laid it on the line with what happened with Lamina saying, his head wasn't in the right place or whatever, however you want to dress that up, and Lamina saying he wants to go, and he doesn't get a game until the window shuts. When the window shuts, I think Pereira will find a way of making it a clean slate for him, and it'll obviously require Lamina to go cap in hand and get on with it. But if a move isn't facilitated for Lamina, then he definitely gets back in the squad. I just think that's the way Pereira operates. He's quite he's not someone that'll be I'll hold a grudge there. He tends to get everything out as it happens. Some of his interviews, his post-match interviews, have been interesting. On one level, it looks like he's been a bit critical of players, but I think he's just getting off what he's just leaving it out there. And he said it wasn't my Wolves against Chelsea, and he got his Wolves back yesterday. And it's just like, I think with Lamina, there could easily be a way back for him. But I sort of respect the stance that's going on now. He's absolutely.
I like Pereira, how he's been. It's a total change. He's very wears it on his sleeve. He's very open, isn't he? Which
and that's not necessarily always a good thing to be so heart and sleevey. But there's more to him than that. I mean, I did a sit-down interview with him at the training ground on Friday after the press conference, and we were just walking through the corridors, and he was stopping and chatting to people like Dan Bentley and others, and just as we were walking through, asking where they're at, what's this. He makes. I got the impression he makes it his business to be open out there and keep dialogue open. And I think obviously he's had issues. Twice he's had issues. He's had certainly the big issue with Lamina. He's had an issue with Cunha to some degree as well, and got through that. And I think he made some very strong remarks about Cunha, and yet got through it. And look at what Cunha did yesterday, and look at Cunha's signing. So I think Pereira's got a way about him where he can be forthright and outspoken, but it doesn't burn bridges, and I like that. So I don't, in terms of does he stay, does he go? We'll see what tomorrow brings, but he's definitely got a future in the team for me if he stays.
Absolutely brilliant. That's well summed up. Jason, you can take this one. How do you rate Jeff Shee as a chairman?
I'm glad you give me the easy ones.
I remember you dropping something similar to me on the draw for the Content Creators Cup, Jason.
Absolutely. Listen, Jeff Shee, you look at Fosun's tenure, and look, they've given me some of the best years of my life supporting Wolves. European football, 2 7th place finishes, semi-finals. We can go on and on. Some of the greatest players I've ever seen in Wolves shirts. Jeff Shee is chairman of the club. Listen, Fosun are 100% shareholders. If you look at the way Wolves historically have done business with their owners, they've all had it's all been very similar. Jack Hayward, 100% shareholder. Decisions stop with him. Steve Morgan, 100% shareholder. Decision stops with him. Jez Moxey used to get loads of grief when Steve Morgan was the owner. And when Sir Jack was. Bearing in mind, as custodians of the club, they're responsible for who they take on, but these people are doing a job. Jeff Shee is doing a job. Is he doing it, the way we want him to? And does he keep us all happy? He certainly doesn't. I think we can aim a lot of criticism at Jeff Shee, especially for the way the club has been run over the last 12 months. But I think if you look at it and I'm trying to give a balanced view here. If you look at it over the past few years, it hasn't actually been too bad. There's been a good trajectory, but now we seem to be going the other way. So, but the last 3 years, look, the jury's out. Are Fosun going to bring someone else in to replace him? I doubt it. So I think we're stuck with Jeff.
Wouldn't surprise me if there'll be a change in the summer, Jason. It wouldn't surprise me, Jason.
I mean, listen,
upstairs.
Possibly, but we've been probably saying that for the past 2 or 3 years, haven't we? And we've been hearing names bandied about, and Jeff was going to esports. But look, at the end of the day, all I want to see for this football club is I want us to compete in the top flight. That's important. Winning the Premier League and all that. Look, it ain't going to happen. In Jeff Shee's words, if winning trophies, maybe Wolves isn't the club for you. But realistically, I just want to see us competing in the top flight. I don't want to see us teetering around 17th, because I know with the resources that has been put into this club and the playing personnel, we shouldn't be operating like that. So let's see. But overall, over his entire duration, he's made more good decisions than bad decisions. But it has been tough the last, especially, couple of years.
Fantastic, Johnny. Great question for you, actually. What made Johnny follow Wolves? Great show, guys.
I mean, to whiz through it, my dad was Irish, and when he was 9 years old, he moved to London, and he moved very near to the Tottenham ground, and this is the mid-50s. And just by chance, he went to watch Tottenham one day, and just by chance, they were playing Wolves. And in the mid-50s, you didn't really get away fans, and he just loved the gold kit. He loved the fact, the name Wolves, and they just captured his imagination. So whenever Wolves played in London, he went along to watch them, and obviously it helped that they were probably the best side in Europe at that time, and won all sorts. And then when he was 18, he moved to Liverpool, met my mum at uni, settled in Liverpool, put roots down there. So I was born and bred in Liverpool, and just as a child of the 80s, went along with him to watch Wolves. I was given the opportunity to go and watch Liverpool and Everton, and in many respects, I missed the boat there. They were two great teams in Europe throughout the 80s, and we were in the fourth division. But I wouldn't swap it for the world. I had a hero. To have a childhood hero like Steve Ball, I'll be eternally grateful for. I think every child needs a hero, and I definitely had one there. And it was a great ride, and just Wolves means the world to me. It's just incredible. And don't get me wrong, it would have been nice to. My sisters follow Liverpool, and they've been to Istanbul in the Champions League, and the Liverpool, they win so much, and it must be great following a team like that. But it's also brilliant.
Will you be reporting on it in a couple of weeks for Sky at Anfield?
No, I'm not doing that game. No, I'm not doing that game. Yeah, I have done Liverpool Wolves games in the past. One of my happiest moments was, remember the Mick McCarthy team when Stephen Ward scored the winner around Christmas?
Oh, yeah, 1-0.
At Anfield. And all I ever wanted to do was to see Wolves win at Anfield, because I just couldn't, it just brought all the playground trauma out, and the fact and be taken. And just to see Wolves win at Anfield was just, mate, that was amazing. So
Johnny, was all your at school, everyone was running around then as Ian Rush or Graham Sharp in the playground, and was you Steve Ball?
Absolutely, Steve Ball, and that's why that England game against Scotland meant so much, because all of a sudden you went into school the next day and everyone was saying, "Oh, Bully," and it was like, that's the fella you're on about. Was
everyone doing the aeroplane?
Brilliant.
Oh, it was just the best. So it did get a little cult following on the school playgrounds of Liverpool, but it was great, and that's why I used to love Paul Cook as a kid, and others just for that sort of the Scouse link. But yeah, I mean, it was great because as a child, my dad was a teacher in Liverpool, and there was 2 or 3 other Wolves fans, just bizarrely, who were teachers at that school. So we would all drive down together in convoy to Molineux, and it was just. And then the away games, we did tons of away games in the north. There were loads of lower division teams in the north in those days, and they were amazing, and I wouldn't swap them for anything. I really wouldn't swap them for anything, and they sort of stole my heart. Wolves.
I can tell when you're talking about it how much that means to you, Johnny.
Yeah.
Those memories. And as you say, through thick and thin. Next question, George, go with this one. Which ex-Wolves player from every era would you like to see in the current team?
Oh, it's too obvious to say. Get Neves back in it. So I'll go for another midfielder from the era. What would you call this? The era, probably a couple of eras before, Mick McCarthy era, which was when I was a kid. Get Nenad Milias back in that centre of the park. Do a job.
Fantastic. I love that. There's a question here from Darren, another one of our members. Jace or Johnny, any new books on the horizon?
Do you want to answer Johnny first? Oh,
okay, go on.
Sorry, me, Johnny, or you?
Yeah,
either one of you.
Oh,
go on. Yeah.
Well, I've wrote the 2 now, and I think all the best things are done in 3s. Buddies, hat tricks, etc. So I do want to do a trilogy of Tales from the Tape. So I do want to do one more book on that. But then I want to do one more after that, and that will be the final one, because otherwise I'm going to end up with a divorce. Because Johnny knows they take so much time, and it's the fact checking, and it has to be a labour of love. And the 4th one I want to do one on players that have sadly no longer with us. So I want to interview family, teammates, people that are very close to them, and sort of get their story from almost the family's perspective, but also tell their story as well. So. Yeah, so probably 2 more, but it won't be any time soon, like I says, because with the time that Olivia takes up, bless her, at the minute, and my son, I've got my hands full. But I do want to do a couple more, because I do really enjoy it. Thank you.
Lovely. Johnny?
Yeah, great. No, it'd be great to see Jason get another couple out there. I've got a couple of ideas, one Wolves related and one not Wolves related. I like to write a non-Wolves book. There is a story I've got my eye on, but it's finding the right publisher and getting a bit of support for it. But I would like to do another. I think I might have another Wolves book in me at some stage, but yeah, nothing on the immediate horizon. But maybe tie something in with the 150th anniversary. Who knows? We'll see what. It's Jason's spot on that they're, in terms of the resources and the time they consume, they're hard work to get off the ground and complete, but they are very rewarding to do. And I had a great co-writer with Paul Berry for the last one I did, which made it a lot easier.
And you do rely as well, Dave. You do rely on a lot of other people. You know, it's not just the author. It's the the people who put the book together. Like Paul Berry, he very kindly proofread mine. That takes time. Then you've got people finding your images, Sam Bagnall. Then you've got Simon Paget who put it all together. So there's a lot of people in there. You're pulling their time and resources. So that they are massive projects.
Absolutely. I mean, Bobby Smith here said the colour of the shirt got me into it. Like Johnny, I'm blessed for living during the Bully era. I can't get my head around Wolves fans never having seen Bully play. I think there's a few questions and stuff, but we are really tight on time. I've been very grateful to Jason, George, and Johnny joining us, obviously, this evening. And I hope you've really found the show entertaining. Just to remind you, again, Bully's big night out, Thursday the 1st of May, University Halls of Wolverhampton and Wolfram Hall, celebrating Bully's 60th birthday. Tickets available from the halls, wolverhampton.co.uk. And also, just to remind you again, the form for the 150th anniversary that we're filling in to feedback on Tuesday night. Fill in the form below. Take you 5 minutes to do that. It'll really help. If you want an input onto that kit, that design, the shirts, any ideas you have, fill it in and we'll send it back to the club. We've got nearly 200 likes. We've had a load of more of you that thank you if you've subscribed this evening. We've still an hour and 50 minutes into this podcast, got nearly 1,100 of you watching live, which is amazing. Thank you so much. It's so good to be doing one of these when we've actually won a game of football as well and got a bit of joy. So I'm going to leave the last words with the guys. A last thought ahead of the week coming up. Give us just a sentence or a paragraph to leave the fans with. We'll go with you first, George. In Vittle we trust.
In Vittle we trust, yeah, mate. I think at the end of the day, I think if he gets one more midfielder through the door, he'll be fine. I'm gonna obviously Johnny and Jason were just talking about books. So I'll leave it with this, Dave. I'll throw a question to you to finish. I think you've got a book in you, mate.
You think I've got a book in me?
You've got a book in you, mate.
He's got a booking in him and a sending off.
A booking.
That's what Dave's got in him. Yellow card, Dave.
There for you. I think there's an opportunity.
I have got an idea. I have got an idea.
I knew you would.
Yeah, I have got an idea for, but maybe. I'm not very good at writing. I'm better at talking, if I'm honest. You could be my ghostwriter.
Yeah, you go.
That's right,
mate. Just speak and do one of them speak to type things and just.
Dave, if I can do it, anyone can do it, son.
Decipher Black Country. You what, Jason, your final thoughts for today?
I've got to echo your comments, Dave. After a win, the whole mood just completely changes. Your weekend changes. Everything changes. You just feel lifted. The pressure's off. Everyone's in a good mood. You go in your WhatsApp chats. Everyone's buzzing. And it just completely changes. And we've had so many chats on here, especially this season when we've lost. We haven't been in the game. And we come on here and we're all moaning and we're all getting relegated and fousing out. And then all of a sudden, we beat Villa 2-0 and the world's a better place. So let's have some more wins.
Have some more wins. Fantastic. And Johnny, I'll leave the final word for today's show to you.
Thanks, Dave. It's been brilliant to be on. I'd say it's great to talk after a win. Let's get to the summer and have a reset, but I think we'll be okay.
Think we'll be okay. Love it. And guys, thank you for everyone that's watched live. Thank you for all of the chat. So many great comments. I've put some of them on the screen for you. Really appreciate you engaging in the conversation as well. It's obviously for you guys to engage and be able to have your thoughts as well. If you're watching it back on catch up, thank you ever so much. Just leave your thoughts in the comment section, and it will be out on Always Wolves podcast, out on our podcast as well on tomorrow morning. It'll be out on all good. If you want to listen to it in your car and stuff like that, it'll be out in the morning. Just check all the links in the description. Check out the Bullies event on the 1st of May. Please try and get down to support the Wolves women at Telford, because it is a big game for them. And I promise you, if you've never been to one of the women's game, it's a slightly different experience, but it's really enjoyable. You get lots of families there. They are quite inspired. They've got the role models for young girls as well. And let's hope we can get through the next round of the FA Cup next week. And let's hope that the victory yesterday is finally a turning point. And we'll see what happens with the rest of the transfer window. And we'll keep you abreast on that. From all of us to all of you, wherever you're watching or listening in the world, all the best, and always Wolves.
Always Wolves.